Have you ever wondered what it would be like if the roller coasters at Alton Towers were different? For instance, what if Oblivion was actually a tilt coaster? A drop that doesn't just go down, but goes... What if Nemesis never happened and we instead got Secret Weapon 1 and Secret Weapon 2? Easy answer is it would be a lot worse. And what if 13 was longer and had more of a layout on the outside? Today I am going to answer all of those what ifs and show you what it might have been like in an alternate Towers. So be sure to watch till the end because there is more to come than what I've just mentioned. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also, the UK Theme Park Awards are currently ongoing and voting is open for it, and I have been nominated for Best Content Creator of the Year, which means so much to me. So if you do enjoy my content, a vote would be massively appreciated too. Anyway, it is now time to begin our alternate Towers. Because if you haven't seen, I have actually done a previous video where I discussed certain things about whether they could do this and that to different rides there, but it was just a discussion. Whereas this time, I'm going to show you some things that will literally directly show us what it would be like if they changed their coasters. That's the whole point of this video. Starting with one that I actually did answer quite a while back now. What if Wickerman, the wooden roller coaster at the park, got RMC'd? First of all, if you don't know what an RMC is, I'm going to put the nerd cap on. An RMC is pretty much a company called Rocky Mountain Construction that are very well known for converting wooden roller coasters to steel and wooden hybrid coasters, giving them longer life and giving them a lot of weird elements that are just crazy compared to what normal woodies can do. And back in 2022, over 3 years ago now, I actually made a video about Wickerman being an RMC, and my young self basically took the entire layout of Wickerman and turned it into... I wouldn't even call it a masterpiece, it's just chaos. And this is what it would have looked like. You start with the slight outer bank flat turn through the building, and then we go into, I was about to say into the first lift hill, as if there's a second one, but no, we went through some trees instead. And here we go then. So the first drop is this massive indoor section, of course, like the real thing. I thought I'd keep this normal. So there you go, it goes down that first drop, and then we start going into the weird stuff, the zero-G stall, the airtime hill down. That would be a great pop of airtime. And then we go into an overbank here, and then an outer bank following that. And then I believe, yeah, I was going to say, it does an inversion through the Wickerman stuff. I love that so much. And into two more airtime hills here, turning around, and then a nice drop down the hillside. It just looks a lot more pacey than the actual Wickerman does. Yeah, look, there's a lot more like hills and airtime and quick. Yeah, see, even that bit, that's just a flat in real life, but that did have a bit more punch to it, and it's definitely an RMC. Would it be one of the best RMCs of all time? Probably not. So then again, that goes to show you how good of a layout it is in general, because with the space they had and the height requirements they need to reach, or stay below, those bloody locals, then RMC could only do so much, and that's probably what they could do with it. But tell you what they could do more with, 13 in the Dark Forest. Because this is one that everyone seems to ask for anyway. What if 13 had a longer ride layout? And I thought, having made 13 in Planet Coaster 2, why not go onto it and make it longer? Here we go, down the drop. And then we go into that right turn. So this is all the same right now before we head into this airtime hill here, which has a trim brake on the end of it that I took out, because that would be another update. What if 13 didn't have trim brakes? What a boring what if that is. But I did take that out for a little bit more speed, and then we head into the next airtime hill, which would go left, but this time I sent it to the right. And as you can see, we're going around the trees, and then we head into a launch. I think that is what 13 could really benefit from. Something like this, where it's not exactly a punchy launch, it doesn't exactly speed it up massively, I mean, it looks slower on board, but something to just give it an extra punch into an extra piece of the layout. I think it'd be really, really cool to see. Because as you can see, we head into that. I think it's around a 40-mile-an-hour launch. And then, as you can see, we S-curve up there. Could be a little bit faster, that one. Go down towards the ground. Again, a nice pop of airtime there. That's a proper ejector hill. And some nice S-curves as well. Just keeping the same vibe as 13 has, but just extending it a little bit more. And then that overbank there. This is back to the original layout again. You've got another S-bend airtime hill thing. And then into the drop track right here. Obviously, that outdoor section is now slightly longer, but not overly longer. But I feel like 13 did need that bit of a launch just to give it something extra on the outside. But it is a world's first, and it does do that drop track, as you can see on your screen, and it does go backwards right here. I did think about extending the backwards section, but then all the block zones would be off. Wouldn't be too realistic, but if you really wanted to, you could have it go past this switch track and do some weird layout outside and maybe got like a spike and come back into the station. I think that'd be really, really cool. Can't do that in the game, but yeah, just having it go backwards and maybe into another launch, spiking up and then coming back in would be very cool. Although a bit pointless, because what's the point in going up a spike to then just go, oh, we're finished now. Batman Gotham City Escape. But talking of a spike on a roller coaster and a bit of launching and all that stuff in the Dark Forest, Rita, of course, alongside 13, is an intimate accelerator coaster that last time I made a video like this was definitely not on the chopping block. Only rumours circulated that it was. Now it's looking like it probably will be removed because it has been closed for over 2 months now, and before that it was closed for another month. Yes, it's been testing and there's been maintenance work happening, but even if it reopens, it's not looking good for the future of that ride. So what if Rita got the Top Thrill 2 treatment? It's not just like the Thunderbolt coaster that has that LSM launch and then does a very similar layout. I want to see a spike on this ride very similar to Top Thrill 2. Now obviously that ride over in the States has a slightly taller spike and top hat than Rita could definitely have. I think that would go slightly over the tree line, but it would give Alton Towers and the UK in general something very different from anything else they have. Maybe instead of a flat launch straight and going backwards into the spike, they could have it go down an airtime hill drop into that spike to make it slightly taller but still below the tree line, and then launch forwards into the rest of the layout and do something a little bit different than what it does now. I think that would be very cool, but I feel like Stealth at Thorpe Park is more so the one that would have that done to it, because at least there's no height stoppage there. So if you want to see a What If Thorpe Park roller coasters episode, 1,000 likes. And I'll do that. But sticking with Alton Towers and what is probably their most famous ride, well, maybe top 2 famous rides, Nemesis Reborn in Forbidden Valley. Now, of course, we could talk about what if it never got reborn, what if there was some weird replacement instead, what if they got a Troublesome Trucks clone and put it there. There is all of that, but I want to take it back to before Nemesis Reborn and before Nemesis itself, and go back to SW1 and SW2, because what if those rides happened instead of Nemesis? Putting the nerd cap back on, SW is Secret Weapon, which is a project code name for all of the different projects Alton Towers were making, except from Rita, because it's not good enough to be amongst them. Secret Weapon 3 was Nemesis, and that was the first secret weapon to be built, meaning Secret Weapon 1 and 2 existed, but weren't built. But with those plans existing, what were they? Well, Secret Weapon 1 and 2 were originally going to be 2 Arrow pipeline coasters, but it was cancelled because the designer John Wardley rode the prototype and thought it was genuinely just boring and wouldn't be any fun at all. Sounds like most reviews of rides before people have ridden them nowadays. But on your screen right now is actually old footage of what the Arrow pipeline coasters would have looked like. And as you can see from that inversion right there, these things were not going to be the smoothest things on earth. And yeah, you can just see what is that? Genuinely might be some of the most horrific roller coaster track I've ever seen. But as you can see, that is the train in front of us. It had wheels to the left and right, and as you can see, it's in a 3-car formation, and it just... no. Can you imagine we got that instead of Nemesis? It just looks like it's got nothing to it, and the profiling is very, very Arrow. In the way that it's just, oh, straight track, oh, banking. Oh. Yeah, it was a single prototype that had this single element on it, and then it turned around into the brake run, but I just can't imagine anything in Nemesis's place right now, and I for sure can't imagine this being there instead, and I'm very glad they decided to scrap it and go for Secret Weapon 3, because that would have been hell. What would also seem like a bad idea back in the day, but not so much now, is a ride type that I could definitely see replacing Oblivion one day in the future. So we might as well ask the question then. What if Oblivion was actually a tilt coaster? The hat is on. A Vekoma tilt coaster is something that came about many, many years ago, but has recently resurfaced as a new generation model of itself. Have you ever seen those viral videos of, oh my god, this ride is tilting? Oh, the classic Gravity Max OMFG tilt roller coaster POVs. Those old generation tilt coasters wouldn't take riders down a free fall drop like Oblivion does, but instead would stop riders and tilt them like so, and then drop them when the track is fully vertical. Obviously the one that we've all seen is quite an old ride, but the new generation ones such as Siren's Curse at Cedar Point have been an absolute hit with the park and America in general. So if Oblivion was to one day disappear and go, instead of it being reborn, why not tilt it. So using someone's Planet Coaster 2 recreation of Oblivion, I stripped out the track and placed in my very own tilt coaster version. As you can see, it's tilting down towards that hole. And there's a bit of a layout going on around it, because I do think if this was redone as a tilt coaster, it would utilize this space a lot more, and probably utilize where Enterprise was as well. As you can see here, it's sort of doing some corkscrews and some turns, and then it goes around to do that overbank that it does towards the end. I think it would utilize a lot more than just a singular drop and singular turn. Here we go into the tilt track here. I feel like this would be such a cool element to have at Towers. I don't know if the back of this tilt would actually go above the tree line or not. Maybe they'd have to paint the back half of it green, but I don't know that for certain. Here we go, dropping down. That'd be such a cool view. And then it slowly lines up. Planet Coaster 2 once again. Couldn't use the new gen track on this one, but you get the gist. Drop down into the hole there, into the darkness, and then we come up into an inversion. You go up into that Immelman once again, and then you sort of crest round, do this overbank here. Again, could be a wave turn of some sort. An outer bank through a inversion. Oh my god, that was so janky, what the hell. And then you go around this section here where the Enterprise was. That could definitely be used for some elements. Through a sign, through a lamppost, through some trees. Nice S-curves there. And then we go into another airtime hill. You get my point, right? Oblivion would be quite a cool tilt coaster, I feel. Especially if you look at an actual real-life version. Siren's Curse at Cedar Point. As you can see, we've got some coasters in the background that... way above the tree line, guys. What's going on? This is a new generation version, and it tilts all the way down, and you've got this really cool turn right underneath. I love that so much. Obviously, Oblivion would just go straight down, so not the same in any way. That tilt itself was also a lot quicker, but look at the elements after this. You've got this really strong airtime hill into a dive, and then you've got loads of other stuff following that. A nice barrel roll. It could be the way to go from a 1.2 coaster to a 1.4 at Alton Towers, because most of this just focuses on like sending you out of your seat. It is really cool. Like, I do love the look of this ride. I just think Oblivion is an awesome ride, correct? But if they ever wanted to do something to it, something like that would be so unique and so different for the UK. I think everyone would love it. What do you guys think to all of these what ifs? Do you want to see more what ifs? Leave them in the comments if you do. Make sure you subscribe, and again, 1,000 likes and I'll make a Thought Park version. And remember to vote on the Theme Park Awards if you haven't already. Bye-bye!